Hey guys, it's Brad the Buff. I got my buff on my head and I'm ready to go. I wanted to do a review of all of the gear I took on this winter trip, just my winter trip gear loadout that I did, except just a quick review. So let me show you what I had and how it worked on the trip in this video. So I am not going to review every piece of equipment. I've got to get some more mileage on them. I can tell you that everything worked pretty well, but I don't want to give too early. So like this backpack, even though it was the first time using it, I want to put a few hundred miles on it before I have a whole lot more to say. But what I can say is I was exceptionally happy. It was about a 51 mile, it was a 3 nights, 4-day trip. And this backpack was pretty awesome. I was very happy with it over that time period. It sat way better than I thought it would. I could get a lot of air. And so that's the first piece. Was very happy that I did end up taking this. My base weight for the trip with food and water and everything, I'd say I stayed around, my base weight, my total weight was about 16 pounds. I probably got as high as 18 when we reloaded, and I probably got as low as maybe 12 towards the last day. But in general, I would say I stayed in the 16-pound range. The water system I used, which I just switched to, and I kept my water bottles packed like this. So I kept one water bottle that I kept clean the whole trip, and one that I would put dirty water in for a quick refill. And then I would filter the water through my xlite vecto. I did really like this bag. It made it really easy to open it up. It's got a big mouth on it, so when we got to smaller streams, I was able to like really dip this in there and get it. So I'd put the 3 liters in here, and then I would filter into other bottles as I saw fit, or I could carry this up filled to camp. And I kept one bottle that if we got to like, a larger river or something where I could just dip this in, I could dip in water and then I could just drink straight from here. And that worked out really well. So I was happy with these pieces of gear for the trip. My Diddy Bag, I keep, I'll probably do a whole video on it, but I used a lot of pieces of item. It was fine. My Msr Reactor, I always take this for larger groups. If it was just 2 people, this is about a 14-ounce piece of gear. I probably would take maybe just an Msr pocket rocket or something. But for a large group, this thing is awesome because it boils water so quick. That worked great. My typical mess kit. If I wanted to drop off, everything that I'm showing you here weighs 7 pounds total. I just weighed it. So I've got about 7 pounds into everything I'm taking off of this backpack. This is one of the things I can eliminate. I could probably get rid of one of these cups if I wanted to gain another 3 or 4 ounces, but I like having them. Same with my pillow. This would probably be one of the top things I go. I do love this pillow. This is my Trekology 2.0 pillow. I don't know, I think it's definitely worth having. It keeps me comfortable when I sleep a lot better with it, so I'm glad I have it. It's about 2 ounces. First trip I got to use my enlightened equipment, 40 degree down. This is the down quilt. This thing was rocking. I think I've said in previous videos, I usually sleep hot anyways. So I was testing it down. I don't think it ever got lower than say 35. We thought it was going to get, maybe down to 30 degrees or so. But at 35 degrees, I was perfectly warm, even though it's a 40-degree bag. Like I said, I sleep hot, so don't take my ratings. But, one night, the first night I had on I had on my down jacket, and I had on a pair of merino wool leggings, and I left my socks on, and I actually got too hot that night. That was probably the coldest night. And so the second night I took off a little bit more clothes. I was still hot. So the third night I got all the way down to basically I was just in my underwear inside of this. And I even ended up taking off my my top hat to keep me warm, my wool top hat. And I was still warm. So, and it probably was most nights it was about 40 degrees. So this thing worked out exceptionally well. It was way more comfortable than I even thought it was going to be. It gave me a lot more space, so I'm pretty sold on, just from this one trip on this quilt. You know, I may never go back unless it's freezing to a mummy bag, but I really loved having this. This was the first trip I got to use my xlite. It worked great. I didn't feel any cold air from underneath me. I got the extra long and that extra wide, which was definitely the right move. This is the perfect size for me. This quilt I got in an extra long, and after using it, I think I could have got away with just a regular long, or just a regular size or regular length. I'm really glad I got the wide, but I think I could have got away with it. I'm about 6'2", so if you're on the edge, you could probably go either way. I'm probably glad I got the long, just so I don't have to worry about it. This was the first trip I brought, and I'm gonna do a whole separate video on this, but my big Agnes carbon Onyx tarp. I didn't have a need for this because we stayed in the shelter, but what I did, because I was worried about it being cold, is I wrapped it around my bag and used it as like an extra blanket basically, and tucked it like this. It did keep a lot of heat in because I did it the first 2 nights, but not the third. So I will say, if it gets extremely cold, I think this is a good option for me to wrap around if I'm staying in a shelter. The downside was it did hold in all the moisture. So when I woke up in the morning, it wasn't like soaked or anything, but there was definitely a layer of moisture on the outside of my bag that I had to leave it set out for just like an hour or so to get that moisture off. But it did work as an extra kind of over top blanket. And then I had this, which was just like a handmade sheet, and I put a little foot box in it so that I could tuck my feet inside of my bag inside this and hold the heat, and it did the same thing that this did. It held in some of the moisture, so my foot box got a little bit wet, but I think it's still a good feature to have if I needed it, and it didn't cause everything to get soaked. You know, my 2 sit pads worked great. I kept this just to shove underneath of my pad just to make sure it didn't pop. So that's basically everything I took on the trip. I was extremely happy with how things worked out. I was comfortable the whole trip. Me using this pack and dropping down to a 16, 17 pound base weight was massive for me. Going up hills, I was much more comfortable, especially, and I was worried about ventilation with this. I don't know that it helps that this has the bubbles versus being flat, but I found that it was really easy just to tip it up and let some air in underneath. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a review of the gear that I used because I was worried about it being a little bit cold. It was a little bit warmer than we expected, probably about 5 degrees warmer. We thought it was going to be about 30 degrees the first night and then maybe 35 to 38 the next, and it was more like 35 and then 40 and 40. But I found that this quilt definitely did the job. This gear was very comfortable to take. You know, if I got cold, I had my, my puffy. I didn't even end up using my leggings after the first night. So the gear that I brought was pretty spot on. And overall, I was extremely happy with the setup. I feel very confident now that, you know, if I do bring my leggings and I bring maybe a set of hot hands, that I'm good with this sleeping bag down all the way to 30 degrees with the current gear that I have. I don't know if I would push it down below that without trying it because I don't want to have a miserable night out on the trail. But I just wanted to shoot a quick video just kind of as a follow-up to what I took on the trip and the gear I took. Everything worked out really well, and I'm excited to get back out there again for a real winter trip. I'd like to get out there for maybe a 20-degree trip. I have my hot tent that I'm going to be breaking out here in January, so I'll see you guys when that happens, and if I don't talk to you between then and now, have a Merry Christmas. Hey guys, if you liked the video you just saw, please subscribe, click the bell so you can get alerted for any new videos that I may do, and check the links below for any information I described in the video. I'll try to put as much there as possible. Thanks for watching.